that's the way families were in those days. A lot of them are still like that today, where you have family values. My father worked in a lighthouse for 17 years by himself on a piece of rock to make a few lira. He worked for the Italian government to make a few lira to be able to feed his sisters. Now, it wasn't until 1947, after World War II, when my dad went back to his own island, married my mom, had me, and came to America 6 months later. This, he moved to 135th Street. This city, this country has been good to my family. I have a wonderful wife. I have 2 great kids. My daughter married very well. He's a great kid. Yeah, he's a great kid. And I made a ton of money. And I believe success is good. And I go to every county in this city, and I go to every neighborhood, and I preach to the young kids that success is good. And I use myself as an example, and I try to make myself as an example to show them about hope. I was in a parade last week, and we marched up Fifth Avenue. We were on a float, and we had, and the videos on YouTube, and we played Only in America, Land of Opportunity. You go to sleep a pauper and wake up a millionaire. Well, I'm one of those lucky ones. But I want to teach all our kids in every neighborhood that they can be lucky too, and they should work and strive for that. I made all the money I want. I don't care about money. And I think that people should give back. And most wealthy guys don't have the courage to stand to newspapers and give back. Mike Bloomberg had that courage. I have that courage. I made a ton of money for my family. I made it for my companies. Now, I want to succeed for all New Yorkers and make New York even better than we have it. And that's my goal. That's why I want to be your mayor and work my tail off for you guys, for every citizen of New York. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalil, and thank you everyone with the Young Republican Professional Group here in New York, as well as Brian and Stephen and Matthew for having us here tonight, so we can talk about the issues that are important to all New Yorkers, but most importantly, talk to all of you young Republicans about why this election is critically important. For the last 20 years, we've had either a Republican or an independent mayor, and over that 20-year period of time, we've seen the city transformed in some very magnificent and great ways. And this election will determine whether or not we continue to see the direction of the city go in such a way that it allows our city and our people of our city to prosper, to live freely, and most importantly, to live in a city where there's a significant amount of reduced crime and allow us an opportunity to raise our families. Over the last 20 years, starting with Mayor Giuliani and continuing with Mayor Mike Bloomberg, we've seen a reduction in crime, we've seen an increase in the number of jobs in the city, we've seen an enormous increase in the quality of life. A Republican needs to be elected this November to continue the growth in that direction. And I think it's very, very critical that we focus on issues of significant importance. We need to create more jobs in the city. We need to have economic development policies and as well as tax strategies that allow us to create jobs in the city and to keep jobs in this city. It is critical that we diversify our job base because we're losing the Wall Street jobs, we're losing the advertising jobs on Madison Avenue, and we need to look at new technologies and new ways to create jobs to allow the city to continue to grow. We need to spend money and focus on our Department of Education. We don't need to spend any more money. We've spend $19,000 for a student, but the results that we're getting out of the Department of Education are nowhere near where they need to be. I'm for more choice for our parents. I'm for more opportunities and better school teachers, and we will need to focus on that, and I look forward to answering any and all questions about my education strategy. We need to continue a laser-like focus on crime. What's very, very important to understand is every great thing that's happened over the last 20 years has happened because of the reduction in crime. People are living in parts of the city now where we never thought they'd be living before. We've seen in Brooklyn, in East New York, in Williamsburg, in the South Bronx, where families are now enjoying the prosperity that New York has to offer. And then finally, given my background, as was made reference earlier, that I was born in the Bronx, the son of a New York City cop. One grandfather was a firefighter, the other one was a New York City taxi cab driver. New York is in my blood. What's really important to understand is that I don't think the government of the city of New York is working for the people of the city of New York any longer. The government has grown 55% over the rate of inflation in the last 11 years. There has been absolutely no control of expenses. And the interesting part of that is that we're required to have a balanced budget. Guess what? Our taxes and our fees and our fines have also gone up 55% over the rate of inflation. We need to get a government that's under control. We need to restructure our government. We need to use technology to make it work better. I'm looking forward to the opportunity of discussing and having a debate tonight with my two colleagues, because the next mayor is going to be a Republican.
Thank you. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you. In 1984 and 1985, I went to the Grand Central Terminal after a woman had died of malnutrition. And I went there not knowing why people were homeless, why she had died, why there were 1,500 people living in and around the terminal. And so a friend of mine and I got the Board of Education to sell us some food, and we gave it out at 10 o'clock at night. I did that for 700 nights in a row. And I listened to what the people said. And over and over again, I heard they wanted a room and a job to pay for it. A room and a job to pay for it. They wanted to work. And, I thought that that was a pretty good sign. So what they were looking for, the shorthand of it, is a hand up and not a handout. That's why I'm a Republican. That's why I'm here tonight. That's why I believe in America. When I was a young man and I first redeemed a bottle that didn't have a deposit on it, it was just redeemed because of its value in those days, I thought I had died and gone to heaven. Here I was in grammar school, and I could go out and I could actually earn money. They would give me money for my labor. And I never lost sight of the value of human capital. My own to begin with, because I've been working hard ever since then, the past 30 years in your interest. But it's certainly something that gives me a great deal of satisfaction and gratitude, obviously, when you can help another human being achieve what they can be, then you can be what you should be. I want to tell a quick story. And when I met my wife in 1987, and she was a screenwriter in Beverly Hills, and we got together, and she wrote grant proposals, and I talked, and we built the Doe Fund from nothing to an organization that's done over $700 million. She and I, those days, I was an advocate and a thorn in Ed Koch's side. And we had welfare hotels that were run by the mafia here in New York City. And they were making literally hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And the little kids would go off into Times Square begging because the mob would be selling drugs. And we had an effort to close those welfare hotels. And Harriet and I are in a bar on Columbus Avenue, and a guy comes up and says, goes like this, taps me on the chest and says in front of her, "You know the trouble with you, McDonald? You're too honest." And he was Joey Childs. He was a button man for the mob. So I decided, over some period of time that I was going to run for mayor. But last August, I sat down with the head of a large business group here in New York City who's known me all of my adult life. And she said, "The problem with you, George, least I've been consistent for 25 years. I am an outsider. I've been working in the public interest, and I bring that to you tonight, along with my philosophy. So thank you all for having me. I look forward to talking about these exciting issues that confront us as a people and as a city. And thanks again.
Mr. Carrion, you can either come up here or use the mic, whichever you feel comfortable.
I'll go up there because I'm going to screw it up. I guess I'll have to explain what I'm doing. Khalil, thank you, and good evening, everybody. Brian, Steve, and Matthew, thank you for allowing me to chime in for a few seconds. And most especially, I want to thank John, Joe, and George. We're getting to know each other quite well. We were together yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. There are lots and lots and lots of mayoral forums all around town. I couldn't be here tonight to participate in this mayoral forum because I had some scheduling conflicts, and so I'm buzzing out of here. But I wanted to come and introduce myself and say hello to all of you. You will be hearing more from me, but I am running as an independent. And you probably have heard that there are some rumors out there that some people might be interested in having me participate in the Republican primary. I think John, Joe, and George may have, well, no, John and Joe may have some disagreement with that. George may be friendly to the idea. It's a free country. But I will tell you this. The reason I'm running as an independent after being a Democrat for nearly 20 years is that I feel that my party of almost 20 years, the Democratic Party, has essentially taken for granted the constituency that I represent, or I represented in the Bronx, and the constituency that I represented when I was director of the White House Office of Urban Affairs for President Obama, which is a constituency that occupies the lion's share of the cities across our great republic. And it has been great on rhetoric. It has failed on the deliverables of education reform, of a robust, aspirational communities. And I want to make sure that New York City doesn't fall into that trap, and that New Yorkers really vote their best interest and the best interest of their family. I'll have an opportunity at some other point to talk a little bit about my vision for New York City, but I believe New York City needs to continue to be globally competitive, a safe city, a city where the best social program is a job, and I think that's true of our country. Ensure that we diversify our economy so that we go from being a FIRE economy, a finance, insurance, and real estate economy, to a freight economy, a finance, real estate, and information technology economy, which is really the new economy and where the global economy is going. And I want to make sure that our education system, our public education system that is supposed to prepare the citizenry for full participation in this franchise, and prepare the citizenry to support and sustain a globally competitive economy, that it does its job. Nothing can be sacred in that equation except the children. So everything ought to be on the table. We need a business-friendly city. We need a city of aspiration, and I hope to be part of this discussion. I know that in November, I have a secure place on the ballot as candidate for New York City Mayor as an independent. And John Catsimatidis is rooting that I stay as an independent so we can have a nice three-way race in New York City. But it really is all about choice, and I want to make sure that at the end of the day we give New Yorkers the best choice. So thanks for this opportunity, for allowing me to stop by. Thanks, Khalil. Have a good night.